Hello everyone, it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. A few weeks ago, I asked some of my Instagram followers if they had any questions that they would like answered. I think most of these questions were about publishing or writing craft, so fun, let's dive in. Also, I feel I should mention if your question was very similar to another question, I probably just combined them and did a basic answer for everyone all bundled into one. Question number one, how has your trad journey to now changed your expectations of the publishing world? I don't know if anything in my expectations has changed. I feel like I went in really well prepared just because of AuthorTube in general, which is just like such an amazing resource. I think maybe like my expectations of what I can give to publishing and like my timelines and things like that, I think that has probably changed. I think I've become much more realistic. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do a book a year or a book in a year in multiple genres. Like that's just not realistic for me, and I think I've come to terms with that. But there are a lot of good things that you should know about, like to help you set your expectations getting into traditional publishing. I think Alexa Dunn's videos are really great for that. She has, I think, a whole playlist of videos like that to help you get prepared. Favorite book you've written so far? Mean question, mean! I mean, I love The Glass Witch because she was my baby. My first one published. I guess there is When the Sea Came for Us, my mermaid book. Oh, gosh, okay, so like looking at it as a reader, if I was going to, like if I've never read The Glass Witch or The Odds, I feel like I would like the, oh my god, I feel like I would like The Odds better as a reader. Like, but I would also really like The Glass Witch, I don't know. Then from a writing standpoint, like, oh no, I feel like The Odds is more complex than The Glass Witch, so like, and I really like complexity, like as a reader and as an author, like testing my skills. God, you guys, is The Odds my favorite book? I don't know why that makes me sad, like having to choose, but okay, cover her ears. I guess The Odds. I don't like that. I don't like choosing. What's a book with a purple cover that you would recommend? Let's see, right here, it's purple. It's got purple on it. I love Witchlings if you're looking for a middle grade witchy book. A bunch of Natalie Lloyd. There's Hummingbird, The Witching Wind, and my favorite by her is The Key to the Extraordinary. These are all middle grade, like almost kind of like fabulism, soft fantasy, but the characterizations are so good. Blood Like Magic is really good. This is a YA witchy sci-fi book, and this isn't like fully purple, but it has purple on it. Starling House. I recently read this and love. This is an adult fantasy with gothic horror elements. What's your go-to tea for each season? What a fun question. Okay, so we're in fall. I know it's kind of like sacrilegious, but I actually am not a big pumpkin spice tea person. Like cinnamon and clove and nutmeg and things like that in a tea sometimes I feel like can be a little bit too heavy for me, but I really like a chai this time of year, which is also very heavy and has most of those things in it. I guess I'm just full of contradictions. I don't know. I like a nice chai this time of year. For winter, I would say peppermint, although I drink peppermint every single day, but that just seems right for winter. Spring is definitely a nice chamomile. I love me a good chamomile. Put a little bit of rosemary in there to give it that like earthy. Ooh, so good. And then for summer, what would I do for summer? If you're a cold tea person, I think that a like chilled hibiscus pear. Imagine the condensation dripping down the side while you're poolside. Amazing. If you could change one thing or part in any of your published books, what would it be and why? Oh wow, that's funny. I actually just reread The Glass Witch for Halloween. I think this is the first time that I've reread it and I was like, oh, that needs changed. Oh, that needs tightened. I think it's just like certain lines that I'm like, okay, we spent a little bit too much time here. Like, let's get back to the plot. With The Odds, I actually think I would change the title. Funny enough, when I was writing the book, it always was just called The Odd Book to me in my head. That was its placeholder title. And then when it was time to actually give it a title, I didn't have one I felt passionate about. I did come up with the idea of The Ghost of Swamproot Manor. If you've read it, you know why that's a little bit of a sassy title, which I really like. I like titles that have more than one meaning. That was fun, but when I brought it up to the publishing team, they were just kind of like, we would like something more snappy and marketable, and my editor came up with The Odds. So we just went with The Odds and I was fine with it. But in hindsight, I was like, you know what? I think I really wish I would have pushed for that a little bit more. It doesn't like super bother me, but yeah, I think that just would have been a little bit more witty, a little bit more fun. Do you write on your bad days? And this is referring to chronic illness. No, I do not work on my bad days. I'm very gentle with myself. I used to back in the day. Yeah, I've learned the hard way that doesn't help. Usually it makes the pain worse, and I can't be my best creative self when the creativity is like constipated by pain. Like the pain is the constipation blockage. What is your 2025 publishing writing schedule currently looking like? Well, we have Better Bones coming out in 2025. Don't know what time, but assuming towards the end of the year. And then that's it. That's all I have set in stone. I really want to finish my YA thriller and get that on submission sometime in the first part of the year. I have 2 drafts of that. I need to complete a 3rd draft, and that's usually the one that I give to my betas, critique partner, and agent. Yeah, that's exciting with that. I want to continue working on my funsy projects. Right now, that's My Grandmother's Guide to High Stakes Adventuring, which is my like fun, cozy satire book. But who knows? If I have learned anything about trying to make writing schedules, I never stick to them. Things come up. Things change. So now that you have a 3rd middle grade under contract, do you feel more hopeful about traditional publishing or still cautious? I mean, I feel the same, to be honest. Nothing is ever guaranteed in publishing. Just because I got another publishing deal doesn't mean I'll get another one. It does feel good to know that I have a name and that I have readers, so there's a little bit of recognition there, so there's a better chance that I would maybe be published over a complete debut. I am of course still hopeful that I will sell more books, and hopeful for the state of traditional publishing and things like that. You know, it's just shifting, and we're just trying to find where we all fit in to that little shift. But I'm never not going to be cautious or weary or a realist in some way. So if you could change one thing about your publishing path so far, what would you change? I don't know. I mean, I think it would have been really nice to have been able to sell The Glass Witch a bit earlier, before COVID, before James Daunt came in and changed Barnes & Noble stuff. That would be nice. Maybe it would have like sold more. I don't know. But then I'm like, everything happens for a reason. So like maybe it wouldn't have worked out if I had done that. Because I feel like I've learned from everything, right? Like everything that I've failed at in the past or maybe hasn't worked out great, I've learned something from. And I take that with me into the future. So I don't know if I changed too much or anything really. Favorite tea to drink? Okay, have a good answer for this one. Tea Forte is my favorite tea company, and they make this apricot amaretto. So good. I'm a hoe for anything almond. And so almond flavored mixed with like a little bit of cherry and like apricot, just so good. It's my favorite. What's your dream Ren Fair outfit or costume? I would love to do something like absolutely wacky one day and do like a big weird cosplay. It doesn't really make sense because you want to be comfortable for the day, but I'm like, what if I just went as like the Tower of Sauron? Like, just like a big black sheet and then an eye. Like, wouldn't that be funny? Is there a book idea you have but feel you aren't ready to write yet? I feel that way with any series idea that I have, or like big high fantasy stuff, just because I don't know what to do with those. I feel like series are so hard to sell nowadays, and also like, do I know how to do a series? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I have so few examples of series endings that I have enjoyed. I don't even know if I have the research available to like learn how to do it, because I'm just so unsatisfied with so many series endings. I also have a bunch of book ideas that aren't fully developed. Like, I just have an idea for them and I'm just like waiting around for them to connect with another idea for me to be able to write it. So there's like tons of those. Did anything surprise you in the publishing process? Like I said, because I watched a lot of Alexa Dunn's publishing videos, I don't feel like I felt super unprepared, but I'm sure there were things that surprised me. Like I was surprised by how much input I got to put into my covers. I thought that was really cool because I was prepared to just be given a cover and be like, hey, hope you like this, you know, but I actually got a lot of input into it, with approving the cover artist, getting sketches. When there were things I didn't like, I told them and they changed them. That was really cool. How do you deal with imposter syndrome when writing? My imposter syndrome is very specific, and it's that I feel like I'm just a copier. Like, I just feel like I take ideas from other people and then just like combine them, and that's where my imposter syndrome lies. I just feel like I am really good at imitation, but maybe not as good at like, I don't know, creation. I don't know. I feel like a swindler. Like, I swindled you into thinking that I'm talented when really I feel like I'm copying what other people have done and just taking little pieces of everything. Which is what writing is, Lindsay. That's what writing is. So I guess I just tell myself, if I'm gonna swindle people, I'm gonna be a great swindler. If yours is that you feel like you're a bad writer, then write the best bad book you can. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, you just gotta keep pushing. Sweet, salty, or spicy pickles? Ooh, salty. Salty all the way. I like a good dill pickle. Also a good dill superior because of the crunch. Any writing projects you would like to write in the future? Yes, I have too many of them. I have an entire note card holder where I keep all of my half-baked ideas, and I'm just waiting for them to combine with something else to become a full-fledged book. But then I do have some that I'm like, oh yeah, no, that is a full-fledged book. I just need to like outline it. I have my Stardust ripoff idea that I talked about. I have a YA Gothic horror, which I've written little bits in, but never done a full draft of. One day I would really like to visit my first book, When the Sea Came For Us, and see if I can make that into something, which I don't think I've said in this video. That is like a a YA dark fantasy series that's like about mermaids. So who knows? And I got a couple other like zany cozy fantasy ideas that I also want to play with. What is the first book you've written? If we're going like way back Lindsay lore, I wrote a book when I was 12. It was 48 pages long and it was a YA thriller. I don't know if I want to link it. I'm sure if you dig back far enough, you can find a video titled My Trunked Novels where I talk about the book I wrote when I was 12, the one I wrote when I was 15, which that one was a Aragon Lord of the Rings ripoff where the main character's love interest was literally named Legolas, didn't even change it. And then when I was 18, 19, I wrote a dystopian. It was like X-Men and City of Bones mixed together. So those were my early books, but the first one that I tried to publish was When the Sea Came For Us, my dark YA fantasy. Will you write an adult novel? Yes, I'm writing one now, my cozy grandma satire fantasy. TV and movie recs, please. Okay, listen, you're asking the wrong person. I watch maybe 2 to 3 movies a year, and I'm not that big into TV, but I am watching What We Do in the Shadows right now. I like it. It's a little bit raunchy. If you don't like raunchy humor, it won't work for you. Sometimes it's a bit much for me, but I do really enjoy it still. If you're looking for like a cozy murder mystery, I do like Only Murders in the Building. Abbott Elementary is another cute, simple, short one that I really enjoy. I think the only other media I've watched is The House of the Dragon. I really enjoyed that. What kind of middle grade did you read as a kid? Mainly fantasy. I have my middle grade shelves right here. So I read a lot of Junie B. Jones. I have the entire collection. I liked the scary stories to tell in the dark, which is probably why I'm scarred for life and am a horror writer now. And other than that, it was a lot of like Harry Potter and the series of Unfortunate Events. I feel like I just read those on loop until I was like a teen and started picking up YA. Would you ever self-publish? I think I would. Like, I'm definitely not against it. It's just not something I'm interested in right now. I don't have a book that I would self-publish right now or that I think would do good in the self-published market. Definitely not middle grade, because I feel like there's not a very big market in middle grade self-publish wise. Also, I feel like I would need to like have a lot more money because I would want my book to be like with a really nice cover. So I want to have money to pay for a nice cover, and I want to pay for like really good editing services, which can get kind of expensive. So yeah, financially, I am not ready for that. Book-wise, I don't have an idea that I think would do good in a self-published market. So not counting it off, not, you know, checking it off, but open to it. Absolute favorite Squishmallow you own? Well, that's a mean question. I'm literally surrounded by all of my Squishmallows, so they're gonna like hear the answer. I love them all equally, but the one that sits on my bed and like I sleep with all the time is... This is Miri. She's a big lemonade moth. If I was a Squishmallow, this would be me. Like, she's kind of chunky, she's very squishy, but she's like very happy, she's yellow. Like, it's me. Does your writing process change with every book or stay the same? So now that I kind of know what my process is and what works for me, it does pretty much stay the same. I do have a playlist on writing process, like my writing process. If you're interested, you can always go check that out. But for a while, when I was trying to figure out what did work for me, it was all over the place. How many books do you think you'll read this year? Oh my goodness. I'm definitely gonna read over 100. Last year, I think was my biggest reading year. I think I read 158. I know that sounds like a lot to some people. Maybe it doesn't sound like a lot to you. Maybe you read like 400 books a year. I don't know. But again, I don't watch TV or do movies or anything, so it's just reading. Let me see where I'm at reading wise right now, and I can kind of figure out, because I'm averaging like 7-ish books a month right now. Oh, I've read 93 books so far. Okay, so I think I'll read around, let's say 110. I think I'll read 110 books this year. Do you want Project Pyro to be your YA debut? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Mainly just because I have 2 drafts of it. Like, it's the closest to being ready. How many Squishmallows do you have, and do you plan on getting any more? Listen, I don't need any more. I recently did a little unhaul. I gave like 20 something to my nieces, and they were so happy to get like just like a full box of Squishmallows, you know? I know I don't have 100. I know that for sure. And I definitely don't need any more. I'm at the point where I have to feel like a desperate attachment to a Squishmallow to buy it nowadays. What do you want kids to take away from Bitter Bones that isn't in your other books? I think one of the themes that's in Bitter Bones that might not be in my other books is kind of like the first disillusionment that you experience as a child when you realize that sometimes your caretakers can be wrong or bad in some ways. I guess that's kind of in the odds, but at the same time, the book doesn't focus on that. The theme is something else. The other theme is also sometimes things don't get better. You just get strong enough to handle it. So I think that that was not in either of my books. Would you ever get another doggo? Listen, if I could have a whole horde of these goblins, I would. I'm just like obsessed with Bostons. They're like the perfect dog for me because they're so zany, like literally a goblin, so chaotic. They're very energetic, so he can like handle my 3-mile walks. They just have the most ridiculous amount of personality, and they just look so so toad-like. Yeah, if I had a house, it would be over. I'd have a million dogs. How does it compare writing middle grade versus YA? Which do you prefer? Yeah, I don't think I have a preference at all. I like all of them the same. Do you feel more confident to share with people that you're a writer now that you're published? I mean, yeah, kind of, because it does tend to give you a little bit more validation, just because it does give you like a little stamp of approval. So that does feel a little bit better to me. And I do feel more confident in it. I'm like, yeah, I did this. Hoo-ho. How long does it take you to complete your first draft? I actually have a video on this. You can see like how long it took me to complete each individual book. Boring answer is it varies, but usually around 3 to 5 months probably. How many books did you write before you got published? 4. How do you balance your disability with writing? Honestly, I don't balance it. There are just days when I can't write. Like this is the first day that I'm actually able to work on my book. I haven't been able to work the past 3 days because I've been ill. And that's kind of stressful when you're like on deadline. I find it much more important to balance mentally how I feel about my work schedule around my disability than actually trying to balance the disability of the writing. Like I just need to feel okay about the fact that sometimes I'm not okay. Are you gonna trad pub your cozy fantasy or self-publish it? I started out not wanting to do either because I was like, it's so goofy. I can't let anyone else read this. But then you guys hyped me up and got me like cocky thinking like, oh yeah, I could do this. I have an agent, like why not? Why not go for like the big bucks if I can? But if I really love it, and I do feel like there is a self-published cozy market that's decently healthy, so like I'm not opposed to it, but I don't know. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. Like I said, there's a lot of money that I would be putting into self-publishing it, so like we'll see. I would try trad pubbing first, but like I have no idea. Would you ever query When the Sea Came for Us again? Well, I don't need to query because I actually already have an agent, but there's a part of me that does want to take time to like revise it. Like when am I gonna get time to do this? Because I am such a slow writer with my other books that I'm contracted to do, but I would like to revise it. Maybe I'll turn it adult. Like maybe it has a better chance of selling if it were adult instead of YA. I don't know. It's so up in the air because that book needs such an overhaul. Like I know it. I have so many pacing problems in that book because I hadn't figured out what plotting method worked best for me or how to plot, like what was important in a story that I needed to have to make the tension keep going through. And so it's just gonna need a full overhaul, and I'm like, at that point, what will I have in the end? It'll be probably a totally different book. Like I mean, it'll keep the core, like mermaids and stuff, disability representation, but like what will it be? Who knows? How did you feel when you started your AuthorTube channel? Were you worried about watching stats, subscribers and such? I think when I first started AuthorTube, I just kind of wanted to kind of like have a diary in a way for myself to track my progress, and if I was able to make friends along the way, I was really excited for that. I didn't really have any goals for subscribers or anything like that because it was really for me. I always wanted to be a writer first and a YouTuber second, but there were times throughout the journey where I would be like, oh, like how cool would it be if I was able to like get big, or like what if my channel blew up and I was able to sell more books? Like that would be really exciting. And then there were times when I was like, I would really like to have more subscribers and so I should publish more videos or whatever. But then I would like kind of like autocorrect and be like, writer first, YouTuber second. Was the growth gradual? And then the next part of the question says, was the growth gradual or did it take until you publish your first book to notice growth and build a community? It was all gradual, honestly. Like my community building was gradual. I made friends gradually. I didn't even have an agent when I made a majority of the friends that I have now on AuthorTube. And the subscriber count is also very, very gradual. There was no video that like exploded and got me a bunch of subscribers. And I think that's just because I'm in a super small niche of AuthorTube where I am not doing how-to writing videos or teaching you how to publish a book or navigate publishing, which those channels and those videos do tend to blow up more because people will Google like, how do you write a book? And then they find your channel. And I know that if I did those types of videos, I would probably have a much wider audience, but that isn't something that I'm interested in doing. I just truly want to share my journey and like make friends. So I just make this really weird niche content that I love, which is where I'm just like taking you through my day of vlogging and writing a book or whatever, you know, which is not something that's like super searchable or people are really interested in. I mean, some people are. Like, I'm so glad you're here. You're obviously interested. Author lifestyle content is like half of my content, and that's not super buzzy the way that publishing discussions, which is the other part of my content, is. If I just did all publishing discussions, maybe things would be different. But again, writer first, YouTuber second, and I always have to remind myself when I feel that little itch to like, you know, be a celebrity or something. If you have any more questions, I guess you could leave them down in the comments, and like, you know, I always try to get to my comments and answer them all. Thank you so much for watching and just hanging out with me today, as I did like a little bit more of a chill video. I'm on a writer retreat when you see this, so I needed something that was just going to be kind of a relaxing, less stressful video. If you're interested in supporting me or my channel or reading my books, my order links are always down below, and it's super easy to like and subscribe if you want to hang out with me more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!